In this weekend edition of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, a Father's Day edition, James and I, we're going to talk about the big news of the day. There was a big trade between Memphis and Orlando that sent Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic. So James and I, we're going to talk about the trade, and we're going to talk about the international deadline that passed. Which international prospects are staying in the draft and who's out? Stay tuned. Shout out to everyone that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my younger brother, James. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And if you're not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Board YouTube channel, not sure what's taking so long, but please subscribe, like, share, comment, and click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because the NBA draft is right around the corner and we are your daily source for NBA draft content. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to this draft. What is it, 9 days away? Something like that? I'm not good at math, but depending on when you listen to this, it could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 10 days away. I'm not for sure, but I am ready for the 2025 NBA draft, and James and I will be in New York City giving you live coverage. All right, happy Father's Day, man. You do anything on Father's Day, James?
Yeah, went out to dinner, got some new shoes, black Air Force Ones to keep the energy going, took a nap, primetime fatherly stuff. What about you?
No nap for me. Went to church, went to eat. And right when I pulled up in the church parking lot, I got the notification on my watch that Desmond Bane was traded to Orlando. And I had mentioned before, I think this is going to be a wild summer. It's going to be a wild draft night with trades. And people would always ask me, what trade do you see happening? I'm like, it's going to be something that nobody's talked about. It's going to be something that I haven't seen being rumored. And bam, here you go. Desmond Bane to Orlando. I didn't see that coming. Did you?
No. We talked about Simons in Orlando. We talked about possibly Jordan Poole in Orlando. I didn't see Bane coming. I saw Brian Windhorst say that. Is this a bigger domino for something else? I mean, who knows? I just finished doing my mock, and I'm like, it's probably going to have to change again, because I just feel like this is only the first step of many more trades to come even before draft night.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all these mocks and predictive mock drafts we're doing, honestly, we're just wasting our time because we don't know who's picking for who. I mean, the Kevin Durant domino hasn't fell. And again, nobody saw Memphis. I mean, we thought Memphis was probably going to make a trade, but I didn't see Memphis getting up to the 16th pick. I didn't see Desmond Bane going to Orlando. I did see Orlando making a big move or a big swing, but I didn't think they'd be able to get someone like Desmond Bane, but they gave up a lot to get him. Here is the framework for the trade. Orlando sends Memphis Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected raw first-round picks, and 1 first-round pick swap on Sunday. So Memphis gets the 16th pick in the 2025 NBA draft. It's Orlando's 2026 first-round pick, which includes swap rights with the Phoenix Suns or the Washington Wizards. Orlando also sent its 2028 and 2030 unprotected first-round picks, and a pick swap is top 2 protected in 2029. So James and I, we've done some research on some of the top kids in the 2028 and 2029 NBA draft. I mean, who knows who's gonna reclass? But there's some middle schoolers that we were watching at the Nike Junior EYBL tournament a few weeks back that could be part of this draft. But anyway, let's get right to it.
Future Memphis Grizzly.
Some kid right now that's in 8th grade or whatever that has no idea that, he was part of a trade for Desmond Bane. I mean, who's in that class? 2029? Is that Hare Jackson? Is that DJ Parker? Or is that my man TJ Johnson?
TJ Johnson's 2028, but you got to factor in, you got to throw in that extra year. So that is his year.
It's a kid named TJ Johnson that plays for AB Elite 2028 class. He's one of my favorite players, and it's crazy. Yeah, me and James, man, we really some draft junkies. We be in the trenches going to junior EYBL tournaments just so we can talk about players if there's a trade that goes down the line and the team decides to make a trade for an 8th grader. But let's talk about Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane, phenomenal outside shooter, was a guy that definitely exceeded like where he was selected at. And he's had like a really good career, but I'm shocked that Memphis made the trade. But Desmond Bane is a guy that if you just kind of like casually or maybe a little bit more than casually watch basketball, you see Bane as a shooter. But Bane averaged 19.2 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. He shot 48% from the floor. He's a guy that I think could be in the 50, 40, 90 discussions every year. Shot 48% from the floor, 39% from 3, and 89% from the foul line. So he just missed it by, a few percentage points in each category. If you had to give out grades for this trade, what would you give Orlando? Because that's a big haul to give up.
I give them an A for getting Bane, but I give them a C for giving out picks. So if we weigh that out, I give them a B. I wouldn't have given up that Phoenix Suns pick. I think that Suns team I don't wish any injury on anybody, but that Phoenix Suns team is a Devin Booker sprained ankle away from being like very bad, especially when they trade KD. They already missed the playoffs as it is. I wouldn't have given up that pick. I understand giving up definitely the 16th pick because we talked about this on the last podcast that we did. Like, what 2 rookies could, crack that rotation, help out this Orlando Magic team that is a playoff team that probably feels like they're close. So they turned that into Bane. Like I said, the future pick swaps, who knows how that goes. And like, if you somehow win a championship with this core, then, it is what it is. But I wouldn't have given up that Suns pick. But I will say this. That Orlando Magic window to win is like right now. And I know you can sit here and say, well, Paolo's young, Franz is young, but Jalen Suggs is on his second year deal. Franz is on his second deal. Desmond Bane is getting paid big bread. And then Paolo, he can be extended, I think, this summer. And he's probably going to get a super max.
Yeah, he should get a super max without a doubt. They gave him to Franz, so they got to give him to.
But with that being said, I don't think Orlando has a history of like paying the luxury tax. So this got to work right away. So it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, I really like Bane in Orlando. I just think that number of picks is probably a little bit too rich for my blood, especially that Phoenix pick. But I understand those, 8th graders that they're swapping out.
Yeah, I just think with the parity in today's NBA, I think there's a lot of teams that feel like, man, we're a piece away from really being a contender. And if you look at Orlando last year, we talked about in the last episode, they had their 2 best players miss, a good chunk of games with the same weird injury. Jalen Suggs didn't have his best year. And I think Bane is like the perfect fit. Like, we talked about Ant Simons, we talked about Jordan Poole, without realizing that, the Grizzlies was going to swing for they were going to take a big swing, like a Cecil Fielder swing. What's that?
I said, who knew that he was even available, though?
Well, that's the thing about this. I think this next few months, we're going to find out that there's a lot of guys that we didn't think were available.
Everybody's available.
Moved. If Luka Doncic got traded in the middle of the season on a Saturday night, everybody is available. So we underestimated Orlando's timeline in a sense. We underestimated how much they want to win now and how much they believe in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. I like the fit. Bane is a very underrated passer. Like, people forget.
He was essentially their backup point guard for a good chunk of the season, or not necessarily point guard, but like
their initiator.
They were flirting with the Scottie Pippen Jr. lineups at times, but like Bane, they run the offense through Bane, and it's not just pin downs and like he's a pick and roll ball handler. So I think that's great. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, I just didn't think that Bane was available. I guess I just underestimated Orlando's belief in how close they are to contending. Like I said, Bencaro and Wagner missed to get a good chunk of games. They were able to condense some of their logjam at the guard spot. They got rid of 2 guards in exchange for 1. They have only 1 pick now. So now I think if Jace Richardson is available, that could be a good pick for them. But up next, we're going to talk about the real reason why we're talking about this trade, because we are an NBA draft channel. So we got to talk about the NBA draft, which means we got to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who now are picking at number 16 in the 2025 NBA draft. Have you ever checked your bank account and you wondered, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's pretty easy to lose track. And that is where Monarch Money comes in. It is your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending in all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track all of your shared and personal accounts. You can set goals and you can stay on the same page without the stress. So take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, second segment. Let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who are now picking at number 16. And Memphis got quite a few picks, like we mentioned, from this deal. So they end up giving up, to me, their most consistent player and their most available player.
Yeah.
Not the biggest star, but they ended up giving up Desmond Bane, a guy who I just did not picture Memphis like getting rid of Bane. But they end up giving up Bane. They get a lot of picks. They get Cole Anthony in return. But at pick number 16, in your opinion, what should the Grizzlies target? Like, what are their needs? And is there a player that they really like? Like, I immediately got a text from an agent, and I couldn't answer it because I was at church, but I got a text saying, do you know who the Grizzlies are targeting at number 16? Because you don't make this deal unless there's someone that you feel like you really, really want, and you have to get into that range. So just guessing, do you think there's a player that Memphis needs at number 16?
They just traded away their best shooter, shooting guard, playmaker. Not best playmaker, but second best playmaker. Who is going to be available at 16 that makes sense to, that you could plug in and help them win games, unless they're deciding to do the ultimate detonation of the team. And, that's just a rumor. I don't know who they're going to pick here. Like, I couldn't think of somebody. I have somebody slotted here, but I guess you could say in a perfect world, do you want a Neat Clifford? Do you want a Cedric Howard to try to maybe fill that role that Bane left as best as those guys can? That'd be my best bet. But ultimately, like, there is a situation where at least one of those 2 guys aren't there at 16, and maybe even both of them aren't there at 16. So then what do you do? Who did you trade Bane to get at 16? Or you just said, you know what, this season is we'll get a guy that we kind of like, and then this is really about that Suns pick and those 8th graders we had talked about. But like, who do they start next year? Is Ja, Jalen Wells?
Oh, well, you know what? Obviously, you're making room for Jalen Wells to be your starting 2. So I guess you go with
Gigi,
Jalen Wells. Do you go with Vince? I mean, at the 3 spot, I mean, I just think it's, you can go with Vince, you can go with Gigi, you can go with Aldama. Obviously, you're going to go.
Aldama's a free agent. He's unrestricted. And he played well enough to, I think, command some money. Are they going to pay him that money, though?
Yeah, I think, yeah, they should be able to pay him because they just was able to save a lot of money with Bane's deal. Then you go Jaren at the 4, and then you go Zach Edey at the 5. So I guess the real question is, are they comfortable with the guys that they have at the 3? Or are they going to target a wing like a Cedric Howard or a Neat Clifford? Do you bring in a Carter Bryant? Do you also look at a guy like Yegor Dimon, a big point guard who is unselfish? We know he's unselfish. In my opinion, the best passer in the draft. Do you put him in a situation where he can play some minutes with Ja, and you can just kind of let the other guys that want to score get buckets? Do you go with like a guy like Rasheer Fleming? Do you go with like Nolan Traore, someone that you think could be an insurance policy? Because Ja Morant is going to miss.
I think they like Scottie Pippen Jr. a lot. He started in the play. He played well, even when Ja Morant, like Scottie Pippen, I feel like he's done he's deserved the spot that he has. But I think Luke Kennard is a free agent, so you have to think you just traded away your best shooter, your second best shooter, probably Luke Kennard. What does he do? And you could lose Santi Aldama. I'm pretty sure they want to bring him back. So it's like shooting feels like it has to be the priority, but like who is the knockdown shooter at this spot that you could play?
If you just go by percentage wise, then it's unlikely, but you hope a guy like Con Knuppel could fall, or maybe you try to package up and move up with pick number 16, and I don't know who they could throw in a deal.
Or man, maybe it's GG time, Ralph. Like he's younger than a lot of these guys getting drafted. Injury set him back last year, but maybe it's his time to. Maybe you go him and Jalen Wells as your 2 and your 3, and then Jaren Jackson at the 4, and there you go.
I think they would probably start Vince and then bring Gigi off the bench for some firepower. There's not a bigger Gigi Jackson fan, supporter, and believer than myself, but I could still imagine them saying like, hey, we know you just want to score and get buckets, so we're going to bring you off the bench for some offensive firepower, and then maybe you draft a guy like Yegor. Then you say, all right, we got an insurance policy for Ja, and then we got a bigger guard that likes to distribute. We got guys that want to score on this team, but we like I said, we bring in a bigger guard that likes to pass, and then Diego will make sure Gigi gets up his shots. But I don't know. I think they have to have someone that they like. Sid Coward, Neat Clifford, those are the two guys that come to mind as far as like shooters. Are they going to be Bane type shooters? I don't know, especially not early. Do they go with a guy like? I think he could fall out the lottery, but do they go to a guy like Kasparas Jakachonis for like your bigger guard that can handle the ball but also play off the ball? Do you go with a backup big?
They have a lot of options clearly at 16, and it just depends. I know, and I want to say this is right, but the new coaching staff, or maybe that was Taylor Jenkins, they wanted to go with a more equal opportunity offense. Then instead of it just being high pick and roll with Ja Morant. But if you're going to go equal opportunity offense, if you start KCP and Jalen Wells, like those still are guys who are, need to be fed, need to be set up to get buckets. So I don't know what Memphis is planning on for this particular draft, but there will be somebody who falls to 16 that will fit with whatever direction they're trying to go.
Yeah, I thought a guy that I liked from Memphis, if they were going to trade into the first round, but it would have been the later first round, was Cam Jones. He's from Memphis. He can play the 1. He can play the 2. Was a pretty good shooter until his last year at Marquette. But as the shooting numbers went down, the assist numbers went up, and then he really, really took good care of the ball. And so he was someone that I thought could be like a target, but 16 is probably a little bit high. Do you go with Will Riley? Will Riley is a name that I've heard has played well in the pre-draft process, and there's some teams that like him. Do you go to a guy like Will Riley at number 16? Or if you're Memphis, like I don't even know the direction of the team now. Do you go for like ready now, plug and play, or do you go youth, highest upside?
See, and that's the problem. We don't know the direction of the team because nobody. I didn't see this Bang trade coming. I definitely didn't see Taylor Jenkins getting let go a few games before the season ended. So, who knows? And I believe the general manager said that 48 wins is not enough. We got to figure something out. And sometimes that could mean let's get out of the middle and go to the bottom, or sometimes it may mean let's find out who can put us over the top. But I don't think that there's anybody at 16 that's going to put them over the top. So that's why I'm wondering what's the direction that the Memphis Grizzlies are going.
Yeah, the West is wild. I mean, there's at least 10 teams that probably, based off of the rosters right now, are coming into the season thinking that they can get home court advantage. And in the West, you know, the difference between home court advantage and being in the play-in could be like 3 games or something like that. And you can't really afford your stars to get injured. And with Memphis and Ja Morant's history, whether it's injuries or suspensions, you have to wonder, do they feel like they need a little bit more depth in the backcourt? All right, up next, we're going to talk about the other big news of the day regarding the 2025 NBA draft. Today was the deadline for international prospects to decide whether they're going to stay in the draft or go to school or return to Europe or Australia or wherever they had been planned. So stay tuned. James and I, we're going to share our thoughts on Neoklis Avdalas. What's his next move? And then some of the players who decided to stay in the draft that kind of caught us by surprise. The NBA finals are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it is a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it very easy to stay in the game before tip-off and even live when the game is playing. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So if you have a good read on who's heating up, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? And also, big question for you. How could $200 in bonus bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet wins? I know, $200 in extra bonus bets. It's always a good thing. And if you're new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. So head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, last segment. So the other news of the day, June 15th, is the day that the international prospects have to decide whether or not they're going to keep their name in or withdraw from the 2025 NBA draft. To me, the biggest domino was Neoklis Avdalas, a player that I am high on. If I were an NBA team, I probably would have gave him a first-round guarantee just because I'm high on his game. 6'8". I know some people list him as a wing, but if you really watch this game, he's best with the ball in his hands. But sometimes with when you're that athletic and at that size, teams just naturally slot you at the wing because there's usually like a 6'1" or 6'2" point guard who needs to play. And with that being said, coaches a lot of times just try to put the best players on the floor. But I think Avdalas, if he's given a situation where he can show that he can play point and initiate the offense, similar to what Jaeger Dimon did at BYU, then I think that Avdalas could be a first-round pick in the 2026 NBA draft. He's a 6'8" point guard, combo guard, whatever, from Greece. Again, one of my favorite players in this draft cycle. I had him going to Atlanta at number 22 in my latest mock, but he decided to withdraw from the draft. All signs are pointing towards him going to Virginia Tech. What are your thoughts about the decision? What you have done if you were Avdalas, and do you think that Virginia Tech is going to be a good fit for him?
I thought that he was a first-round pick for sure. The ball handling, the playmaking, the size, it's just too good for me. I don't think he would have. I would have taken him with one of those Brooklyn picks. I liked him with the Nets pick. I think he can play. And, him going to college, going to Virginia Tech is an interesting choice. We're always talking about, Raf, go somewhere where they need you, where they're going to put the ball in your hands. And he chose Virginia Tech, an ACC school. You get to play Duke a couple times. And I think that's a good move for him to improve his draft stock. I think he has an opportunity. If he plays well, he could be a top 10 pick in next year's draft. I think he's that talented. And of the other guards that came back to school or withdrew from the draft that are in college, he's obviously the biggest one. Now, they have more established names here in the States, but I feel like he was a first-round pick. I thought he played extremely well at the combine. I was a bit surprised to see him go back, and he was the one that I was kind of like waiting for to see what he was going to do before I released my latest mock 2.0.
Yeah, I want him to stay in. Interesting enough, I knew some of the schools that were going after him, and I did an interview with him. Actually, I even just posted a still pick on Twitter previewing the interview, and I had a bunch of colleges hit me up. I even had a school today asking me, can they get in on Avdalas? But I know there's some other schools that are trying to get in the mix. I haven't talked to Neoklis in a week or so. I've seen that he's verbally committed to Virginia Tech. I've seen it online, but I don't have any confirmation. But I think all signs are pointing towards him going there. However, I do know that there are some schools that are really, really trying to aggressively get in the mix. Just because if you look at, just the transfer portal situation right now, there are a lot of schools that are just looking for a high impact starter. I think there's a lot of schools that are getting tricked. They're signing these 22 and 23-year-old international guys thinking that they're going to help. And some of these guys are not better than like NAIA guys. Some of these guys are just older and experienced. And some of these schools are just so desperate that they're overlooking some high school players that I think are better. They're overlooking some high school seniors in exchange for an older international prospect that is not going to play for them. So I think somebody else tweeted that too. Was it Fran Fraschilla?
Fraschilla said a lot of y'all getting tricked.
Yeah, it's true. Like, there's a guy that the school reached out to me about. I never heard of the guy. Like, I never heard of him. I'm not saying that I'm the expert on international guys, but I have a pretty decent feel for him. And I reached out to like some of the people I knew that were like heavy into international scouting, and they said they never heard of the guy. And this is like a Power 5 school recruiting, or at least inquiring about this 22-year-old that 3 people I reached out to had never heard of him. Maybe the guy is just a hidden gem. I don't know. I just think with scouting today, it's kind of hard to just be like totally hidden, unless you come from like Africa and you're like, I don't know,
But these guys are pros, though.
These guys are pros and playing. So
there's film out there.
Yeah. So anyway, with that being said, let's talk about the guys that decided to keep their name in the draft. No real surprises here. Noah Singay, Juwan Beringer. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
I see you with the little French accent.
Yeah, man. I'm just making it up as along the way, because Joan Beringer does not sound French at all.
Joan Beringer sounds like the actress from in the 60s.
Right. Hugo Gonzalez, Nolan Traore, Ben Saraf, Noah Pinda, Hanson Yang, really the Yang gang, Alex Tui, Bogi Markovic from Serbia, Rocco, whatever. Big Z, the second coming of Big Z. Kept his name in the draft. I want to talk about that in a second. Dink Pate, Ethan Almansa, Salu Niang, Mohamed Diarwa, and Eli Njai. I've seen pretty much everyone play in person except Rocco. And Njai, I mean, he's played for Real Madrid the last few years. He's even been a starter. He's been in draft circles for a while. Mohamed Diawara, if it's the right one. I mean, there's like 9 guys with that same name. I remember when I first saw if this is the right one play in a tournament, I tweeted it, and come to find out that the person that I added was like some dude that played D2 at Missouri. That was from Senegal. Ethan Amounta, familiar with him. Dink Pate, familiar with him. But Big Z, Rocco Zikarsky, 7'3". Interesting. My man did not participate in the combine after having a really, really like down year playing for the Brisbane Bullets. I thought, hey man, the combine is a place where you can at least show something. My man Hanson Yang played in the combine. Hanson Yang had better numbers. He played, but Zikarsky didn't play. So I talked about it on a solo episode I did, but I want to hear your thoughts. Like, what are your thoughts on a 7'3" big who's intriguing, who did not have the best year, and whether it was injuries or just his coaching staff in Brisbane lost confidence in him, Zikarsky just didn't have any numbers. Only reason why he's invited to the combine was because he's 7'3", and he didn't play. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a red flag? Do you think he's scared? You think he's ducking the smoke? Or do you think he might have a promise, or there's a team that likes him.
I still would have played even with a promise, because look at, like, we were high on Yang, right? And look what the day 2 Hanson Yang did. Like, he clipped up a montage of plays that showed you basically like, yo, youngster is legit. And I feel like Zikarsky should have went out there and played. Like, you have an opportunity. You got 2 days to play. Be 7-3. Show that you can defend in space. Show that you have some talent. And I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I mean, like, Reynaud played one day, shut it down. Like, if you played well, especially on that first day, you could shut it down. I didn't get it. Him staying in the draft, though, doesn't really, I'm not surprised at that, though. Because
I am. Like, think about it. How much money would he have got in NIL money in school? He would have been the hottest name right now in the portal if he says, I'm withdrawn from the draft and I want to take the college route. You can imagine every school that doesn't have either two things. Every school that doesn't have like a legitimate center, or every school that has money left over in their collective, would have threw him $1 million plus.
Man, maybe he's not motivated by money.
Hey, man, well, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense to me, because...
Hey, man, I get it, but maybe he's just like, forget these books, man. I'm trying to get right to it. I mean, you
don't even need to carry books, man. You just gotta pass first semester.
That's true too.
And you can major in PE. I mean, like freshman seminar. Like, I'm trying to think what a class I took as a freshman that were just
show up.
Yeah. So I just think he's made some very interesting decisions. I wonder, is there a team that likes him? But even if there's a team that likes him and they say, hey, we're going to take you in the second round, it's going to be a two-way, more than likely. You can make way more money going to school, developing, and actually playing. Like, if I'm him, I would have went to UCLA. I would have followed Donovan Dent. I'm not for sure. Donovan Dent wasn't there.
That's true.
I mean, I would have went. I would
have went to Purdue or somewhere, man. Purdue.
Yes, I would have. I don't know. I mean, there's gonna be some pressure of like following Zach Edey's footsteps, but I definitely would have went somewhere where there's a point. I would have looked down the list. All right, who led the nation in assists after Ryan Nembhard? All right, this is where I'm going to play. But that's just me. But let's talk about Dink Pate real fast. You were very high on Dink Pate. What is your range for him? And give us a teaser for your upcoming mock draft. But what's the range you have for Dink Pate?
Dink is going to be in the 50s for me. I think Dink, eventually, Dink has the talent for sure. Dink's got some things he needs to figure out on top of, proving that he can shoot the ball consistently. Not surprised that he's in the draft, because it's like he was already in the G League. He already did Mexico City, which is still in the G League. I don't think he had another year international ball. I think he'll be in the G League again this year. This time it'll be attached to an NBA team. But he's got talent, man. He just has to figure it out. So we'll see how it goes. But teaser, I made some movement in my latest mock I will be releasing here. As soon as we finish with this pod, about 5-10 minutes if you're watching. It's coming out Sunday night. Let's just say that.
Yeah, so, James and I, we're going to go live for James's updated mock draft after the international deadline. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Four podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Be sure to catch James's updated mock draft. We are out of here.